So a summary of what we'll be covering today. So I'll give a quick brief overview of the Ignite network. Then Neha will talk about the mentoring programme and Jess will talk about action learning. And then there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. So I've included a QR code here, which is a link to a Padlet with questions and answers from the previous 2 cohorts of the mentoring programme, and you might find it helpful to have a look at those. I've actually linked it in the chat. If you could, I hope you can see it. If you scroll up to the top of the chat, the link should be there, but please let me know if it's not, and I'll stick it back in the chat again. Okay. So a little bit about Ignite. So for those of you who don't know, Ignite is a £1.25 million PSRC funded Network Plus project, and it's taken place over 4 years. So it started in September 2022. So we're kind of just over halfway through now. The network is led by Professor Becky Lunn at the University of Strathclyde. It's a collaboration between 6 universities, including Imperial College London, the University of Nottingham, the University of Manchester, and Brunel University London, Bristol, and this is just all the co-Is who are involved in the project. You'll see, obviously, I've highlighted who's involved in the mentoring programme. So obviously Neha, myself, and also Marco, who you'll get to meet at the in-person training, which we'll talk about a wee bit further on. Okay. So the overarching aim of Ignite is to help the energy research community create a diverse and inclusive and welcoming culture that encourages everyone to thrive. So, for example, everyone enjoys equal access to opportunities, have their voices heard and be recognised, feel valued and be able to be themselves, work in a way that supports their individual needs. So our goal through the network is to identify systemic barriers at all stages and then innovate to remove them. And here, oops, sorry, too fast there with my mouse. I've just listed the 7 key objectives for the project. So you'll see that mentorship, advice and advocacy is number 6 of our objectives list. And I've put in a little flyer there about why we need Ignite and some of the reasons behind it. And then some stats about gender and ethnicity, and really things haven't moved forward very much. So that's the reason behind Ignite. Okay. So this slide shows how Ignite is structured. At the centre, we have the network and community, and around this we have 7 key deliverables, which are called prescribed activities. So, for example, PA1, and they all cover different parts of the career pipeline, and they're led by a co-investigator at each of the partner universities. So PA5 is the mentoring deliverable. At the bottom, you'll see there that we have flexible funding. So we had 2 flexible funding pots worth a total of 500,000. All of that funding has now been allocated across 13 different projects. And if you're interested in finding out more about those projects, you can check them out on the Ignite website, which is linked there, just www.ignitenetplus.ac.uk. So the network now has over 400 individual, full and associate members across the research community. These cards are from our members directory, which has been set up to showcase full members by raising the profile, supporting networking and building collaborations. If you haven't done so already, we'd really encourage you to complete a profile. So now I'll hand over to Neha, who will tell you a bit more about the mentoring circles.
Thanks, Claire, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, really great to see you all and know that you're interested in participating potentially in our mentoring circles cohort this year. So, as Claire said, the what we're doing here is setting up our next cohort of the action learning circles, and this is one of the big deliverables of the Ignite project, where we really wanted to support, particularly researchers from underrepresented backgrounds to work on their career advancement, to be able to network with one another, and to develop a community of researchers where we can share our lived experiences and support one another. And so, if you decide to take part in this mentoring program, then the things we hope that you will get is that you'll broaden your connections by meeting one another. We'll hear diverse perspectives by having multiple people in the room. We hope that this action learning approach will increase accountability. So, for example, if there are things that you want to work on in your own career or in your own role, then we believe that this action learning approach in groups will enable that accountability to be increased. By being in these groups, you'll also learn from others. And we hope that in doing that, you'll develop your own leadership and promote change then within your own organizations as well. If we can go to the next slide, Claire. Thank you. So this is a rough timeline of how this year's mentoring programs will run. So obviously, if you're here today, then you have already shown some interest in this program. So after today's briefing session, we'll be sending you out more information about how you can complete your full application to be part of the program. And so you can choose to be part of this program as a participant or as a facilitator. And so with action learning, the way that this will work is we'll have a few people in each group where each of those individuals will be a participant, and then we'll have a facilitator who will help you to work through the action learning process. And when Jess speaks in a moment about action learning, it will become a bit clearer what I mean by that. But what I want to make clear at this point is that this is going to be a little bit different to your sort of traditional mentoring that you may have come across before, where generally you would have a mentor, which is someone with maybe more experience in a particular area, and a mentee with potentially less experience. In this situation, it's absolutely not a requirement for the facilitator of a group to have more experience or to be in a more senior position than the participants, as they're just facilitating the discussion and helping the participants to work through their own kind of career goals or advancement goals that they have in this action learning way. So yeah, you're more than welcome to apply either as a facilitator or a participant, or both if you really want to play both roles. So once you submit your application and we receive all of those, we will then look through all of your applications to understand if there are any aspects of work that you really would like to focus on in the action learning program. Then we will form the groups, and you'll be notified then in early December of what group you will be in. And then we'll be launching the program in January with an in-person event. This is the first time that we're doing an in-person event, and we're really looking forward to being able to get everyone in the room together. So that's going to take place on the 13th of January in Birmingham. And that will give us all an opportunity to get to know each other, but also to practice action learning before we all go off into the groups to begin that programme. And so then between January and July, we'll ask each of the action learning circles to meet between 4 and 6 times. And after each meeting, we'll just ask everyone to complete a very short form to let us know how it's going. And then we'll be evaluating the programme when we get to the end of that as well, with a more complete evaluation. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing all of you hopefully in January. And so what we've done this year as well, thank you, Claire, is we've suggested some dates that may work for your circle meetings. Obviously, once you apply and are assigned to a group, you'll have the opportunity to adjust these according to your availability. But we felt that having some suggested dates in place can sometimes help that accountability to make sure that we, block the time in our calendars and make sure that we make time to meet. And so our suggested timeline is as follows, but this might change depending on your own availability and that of your group.
So now hand over to Jess. Oh, you're on mute, Jess.
There you go. Right. Bear with me 2 secs while I make sure I've got my slides up. Okay. Is that showing?
Yes.
Wonderful. Don't know what it says December, but we'll ignore that. Hello, everybody. So my name is Jess Widsford. I'm one of the co-founders, co-directors of a community interest company called Inclusive Futures. A very quick bit about what we do. So we work with young people to support students to find a future that is right for them. And a lot of that is around social mobility and progression to higher education and supporting students while they're within higher education. And we do lots of coaching, training, facilitation, and action learning sets. So I'm going to be talking to you just a little bit about what action learning is, and it's just to give you a little flavour of it. Don't worry about holding on to too much of that information today. It's just a quick intro. We'll go over all of it in much more detail when we are in person together in January. So what is action learning? So action learning is a small group of consistent members that come together on a regular basis. They take it in turns to bring an issue or a challenge or even an opportunity to the group, and the group then helps them to explore that challenge or opportunity through asking open questions, and helps them to explore it from different perspectives and different angles, and hopefully come up with some ideas or actions that they can take forwards. And then between sessions, people go away with those actions, they put them into place, they gain insight and reflections, and they bring that back to the group to update them on how they've got on with their problem or opportunity. So they have that opportunity to kind of reflect back in their next session. Action learning came from someone called Reg Revens, and action learning is based in this kind of philosophy of a spirit of friendship. And essentially what we mean by that is action learning is all about creating an environment where people feel supported, where people feel encouraged, and most importantly, where people feel equal. So this isn't about hierarchies. It's not about anyone feeling like they're in competition with each other. It's from that kind of spirit of support and encouragement. And it's based on this philosophy that there is no learning without action and no action without learning. And what I mean by that is, to really learn, you need to put something into practice and see how it goes and take action. And whatever action you take, whether or not it goes the way that you expected, there's learning and there's reflection that you can take out of it, which will help you going forward. And action learning really recognises that people learn best when they are with other people that have a shared interest with them, whether that's colleagues, whether that's people in the same field, but that kind of shared interest where they can come together to mutually support each other. And it's based around asking questions that help people to gain insight and to reflect on where they are. So there are some really key kind of principles that sit behind action learning. So confidentiality, it's a confidential space where people can talk openly and freely. It's judgment free. People aren't there to tell you whether the decisions you're making are right or wrong. They're there to hold space for you so you can explore them. It's about asking questions rather than kind of giving advice or giving ideas. It's about supporting you to find the ideas that are best for you. Um, Everyone is responsible for their own kind of actions and learning. So your set is not responsible for helping you find the ideal solution. That's for you to find, but they will help create the space for you to do that exploration. It's about setting yourself kind of actions that are challenging but achievable. And also recognizing that actually through this process, you don't just learn about how to overcome a particular challenge, you learn about how you learn and you learn about your own process as well. So there's a process that we follow in action learning, which I will talk you through very quickly. So first of all, you have a quick check-in to see how everyone is. You then kind of agree who's going to bring an issue to talk about that day. You then have a progress update, which is finding out how things have gone since the last session. And then you go into this individual time. And so the individual time follows this process. So first of all, you ask the issue holder to just share their issue. So that might be a challenge they've got, or an issue, or an opportunity. The group then has an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. So that might just be anything they need to ask to just get the right information from the issue holder. And then we go into this open question frame. So we just ask nice open questions, and if you don't know what an open question is, that is absolutely fine. We'll go over it all in the training, but it's essentially about just asking questions that help people to think and to gain new insight. And then we agree what actions, the issue holder agrees what actions they're going to take, and then we close that round. And we do that as many times as you can, depending on how much time you have and how many people want to bring an issue. And then you close the set as a whole by just checking in with everyone how it went. So I wanted to finish by just telling you about some of the key roles there are in the kind of action learning setting, because I know some of you will be coming to be set members, some of you might be interested in being a facilitator, some of you might be kind of toying between the two. So first of all, when in action learning, you have your issue holder. So these are the members of the set that bring issues, and that issue holders will change every time you meet. So our issue holder kind of shares what their challenge is. They kind of tell the group what sort of support they'd like, and what they'd like to get by the end of their time. And so while that issue holder is bringing that issue, the set's job is to listen, to ask questions, to try and hold back from giving sort of their opinions on it, and to work as a team to help that issue holder explore the challenge that they've brought. So you then have your facilitator. So your facilitator is there to help establish some ground rules for the set at the beginning, but just to guide people through the process and to try and keep to the process the action learning process. To also keep time, to model questioning. So our facilitators can absolutely join in and ask questions, and to also encourage the group to give honest feedback about how they feel the set is going and how they'd like to see it improved, so that everybody can make the most and get the most value from their time together. And then as a collective, you are responsible for the kind of running of the set. So it's not just on the facilitator. Everyone takes a role in ensuring that they are committed to the set. You are all responsible for kind of reviewing how you think it's going and feeding back if something's not working so that you can have that conversation and make it work for everybody. You're there to provide some accountability. That might be around the actions people are taking, but also around about showing up for the set. And you're also there to build new skills. There's loads of skills that come out of the action learning process, particularly around that questioning, those questioning skills. So you will all be able to take something away from your time in it. So that is a super quick run through of what action learning is. I know we've got a Q&A section in a moment, but I'm really happy to take any questions about action learning now, or you can wait until the Q&A piece in a moment.
No questions just now.
Oh,
okay,
great, thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Thanks, Neha. Thanks, Jess. So I thought we got quite a few questions on the expression of interest form, and I thought it would be quite nice to share them so that everybody can see the questions that have been asked and we can answer them. And then if there's any other questions, obviously you can put them in the chat or you can put your hand up and we'll come round and we'll take your question. So I'm just going to share this just now. So I put the Padlet link to last year's questions and the year before in the chat again. So if anybody wants to have a look at that, and just go on. So these are the questions that we received from the participants. So the first question is, how will participants be matched into circles? I don't know, Neha, would you like to answer the first question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So we'll use a couple of different things, and it will depend really on what each applicant puts into their application form. So there might be individuals for whom they really want to connect with people who share similar identities and background to others. So if that's something that is important to you, then if you write that into your application form, then we'll take that into account. The other thing that we'll use to match participants together would be around the types of things that you feel you'd like to work on through the action learning mentoring process. So if there are particular sort of career related or work related situations which you'd like to work through as part of this process, then if you share those, if there are sort of similar individuals, then we'll try and put people that want to get a similar thing out of it together. So yeah, it's really up to you. If there's something that you have in mind that you really want to get out of it, we'll use that as much as possible to link people together.
Thank you, Neha. So going to the next question, will the programme include opportunities to connect with mentors or participants from other circles to broaden cross-disciplinary learning? So yes, there will. Obviously, we've spoken about the training event that we're going to have in January. And there's another question actually from the facilitators that they had asked if there would be an opportunity for facilitators to get together. So we've thought about setting up a network specifically for facilitators to kind of have that opportunity to discuss, different things that arise from their perspective. And we'd be more than happy to do the same thing with the participants if participants want to have an area that they can talk about, their different experiences. But hopefully, once people get the opportunity to meet with one another in person at the training event in January, that'll allow those connections to develop a bit more, which is the whole reason for having the in-person event this time round. Okay, so go on to the next question. How does the mentoring circle feed into the wider aims of the Ignite network in promoting equity and inclusion within the energy research sector? I don't know, Neha, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure. So I guess in terms of the wider aims of the network, there was the mentoring and advocacy sort of part of the project was defined from the start, as were the other prescribed activities and deliverables that Claire outlined at the beginning. So it is really an integral part of the program and part of us wanting to kind of give opportunities to particularly early career researchers, but also others who are underrepresented in the energy field. I guess in terms of promoting energy equity and inclusion within the sector, we hope that this is just one of the activities that will allow some networking and sort of, advocacy work. We are also looking into one of the other things that was part of the mentoring and advocacy package, which was about championing researchers within the field. So that's something that we're kind of actively working on. Working out the best way to connect people so that some championing can happen. And obviously, this is kind of an additional activity to the main network itself, which, as Claire mentioned, we would really encourage everyone becoming a member of. So I hope that kind of answers the question, but we are open to any, if you have any suggestions of how we can kind of take this further in supporting researchers in this area, we're really open to hearing people's thoughts on that.
Thanks, Neha. I'm going to take one of the questions from the chat just now. So Mohammed has his question is about attendance and whether it's in person or if there's an option to join online. So just to clarify, so there's only the training part of the programme on the 13th of January is the only in-person part of it. So all of the other meetings will be online. So we just thought it would be good to get everybody together in the room in person to build those connections and get to know each other before then moving online. I don't know about yourselves, but I find it easier once I've met someone to build that trust and connection with them, to do that kind of in person and then go online. So that's the idea behind it, this cohort. So, and I'll just follow up then. Juan has asked, will the training in January be within our circle groups or just for facilitators? So everybody will be invited to the January event. And there will be certain parts of the training will be specifically for facilitators or for participants. We'll split the groups at one point, but most of it will be together. Thank you for that question, Juan. Jess, yep.
Sorry, Claire, can I just add, and that you'll also get a bit of time in your circles as well. So it will be a nice combination of getting to know people outside of your circle as well as some time with your circle as well.
Yeah. I don't know, Jess, if you'd like to take the first part of this question. So I would like to learn more about the structure and expectations of the mentoring circles. So I think we've covered how participants will be matched above, but just kind of the structure and expectations. I think you've covered most of it already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if there's anything sort of specific you'd like to know, then please ask. But in the training, we will go over that process in more detail so that you're really clear on what the actual meetings would look like and how they'd be structured. It follows an action learning process, which actually the great thing about it is you don't, as the facilitator, you don't need to come with loads of answers to the challenges. You just need to facilitate the process itself.
Thanks, Jess. So just go back to the chat. So there's a question, will travel and accommodation costs be covered by the network for every participant on the 13th of January? Yes, we're covering all costs to attend on the 13th of January. So whether you pay for that yourself and claim it back from us, or we organise it for you, but I'll be in touch with more details about how we're going to do that. Obviously, the first part will be everybody completing the application form, and then once we've matched everybody into the circles, then we'll start to arrange the travel and accommodation for everybody. But yes, it will all be covered by the network. So thanks, Priya. Oh no, that wasn't Priya. Sorry, Priya has a question. Would it be okay if one cannot join the in-person training? I don't have any funds to cover. So yeah, Priya, so the network will cover the costs for you to attend. It's just really if you can get away from work for that day, but we will cover the costs. So I'll go back to the questions in the slide. So the second part of that middle question, I'm also interested in understanding what support and resources are available to help participants engage effectively throughout the programme. So obviously, Jess will be providing the training on the 13th of January, which will hopefully equip you with being able to do the action learning and facilitate those groups if you're a facilitator. But I will be available if there are any issues. You can drop me a message, and I will be able to support you and put you in the right direction, or talk to the group or whatever. I think the most important thing about in the groups is being able to communicate and be really open and set the boundaries at the very beginning, and engage with one another throughout the process. But if you do have any issues, or you have anything ongoing, or you need to talk about anything, then I will be available throughout the whole programme. So this question, I often feel that I'm too old to be settled in a career, having switched to academia a few years ago. I worry that the programme or programs like this aren't meant for me, but I feel I need some help and guidance. So yes, the programme is definitely for everyone, to work through those feelings. If you're feeling feelings of isolation, or to be able to look for ways to answer some of those questions, the group are there to help you and direct you in that process. So yes, definitely the programme can help. So the final question there, I'm particularly interested in understanding how mentoring relationships can be maintained beyond the formal programme to support long-term career development and collaboration. And I'd like to know how about basically how an alumni network potential support could be set up. So I think that's a great question. We were just talking about this before we came onto the call and saying what a great idea, and it's something that we haven't discussed yet. But we definitely would like to set up some kind of alumni network, and we'll be looking into doing something like that. So that would include the first cohort and the second cohort, and of course this cohort as well. So in some of the previous cohorts, they have continued. So it doesn't have to just be for the action learning circles for the period of time of the programme, but it can continue beyond that. I don't know, Jess, if you want to add something, because I know that you've got some good examples.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that have been members of action learning sets that have gone on for 25 years. So, if you have a set that that really forms this bond, that can carry on. And actually, the beauty about the process is it's once you've got your head around it, it's very straightforward. It doesn't cost you anything to run, as long as somebody's got access to a Teams account or a Zoom account, and so it's really easy to continue to facilitate it if you choose to do so after.
Thank you, Jess. So there's a couple more questions. These ones were from the facilitators. So again, would there be an opportunity for facilitators to share feedback and reflect on their own practice as part of the programme? So this time round, we're intending and setting up a little sort of like mini group for facilitators specifically, but you'll get to meet everybody at the event in January, and hopefully from that we can discuss how you would like to meet with the other people, whether it's, at a midpoint in the programme or whether you just keep an email communication with one another. It's really up to you how you would like to do it. And so I'd like to learn more about the specific expectations and responsibilities of being a facilitator, as well as best practice for leading an inclusive, effective mentoring circle. So it'd be helpful to understand how facilitators are supported and connected throughout the programme. I don't know, Jess, do you want to try and answer that one?
We will cover that in the training. And if you had any further questions after the training, I'd be very, very happy to discuss it in more detail. In terms of kind of continued support, as Claire said, she's available to support all the facilitators as the programme goes on. As am I. I'm really happy to answer more questions if anything's not quite working or you need any ideas as to how to get your overcome any challenges that your sets are experiencing. And also I think before we jumped on, Claire and Neha were talking about whether there was opportunities to get facilitators together and what that could look like. So I think, like Claire said earlier, we're really open to any ideas about what kind of further support members feel that they want or need after the training has taken place.
Thanks, Jess. Are there any more questions, or have we exhausted our list now? And I'll stop sharing this. So what I'll do then is I will put all the questions and answers into the Padlet so to add this year's as well, so that you can refer back to them if you have any further questions. I'm also available, as is Neha and Jess, if you have anything that you're not quite sure about or you think about after we've finished the call. But I think that might be a wrap for now. And I'll be sending out the profile application form just after this meeting, and I'll hopefully see you all in January.